Good afternoon. This is Epoy from Asian Movie Pulse. So we currently have here Thai director Ek Ratanaruang, currently sitting in as the chair, right? The chair of the jury of the Asia Pacific Screen Awards.
Right.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you about this. Um, I want to ask first, um, have you ever sat in other competition as a jury member or as a chair prior
Well,
to?
yeah, I've done several of these. Yeah, and if I would have done a lot more if I don't say no to a lot of them.
Oh, so what what do you think distinguishes this Asia Pacific Screen Awards than on the other jury duties that have you had done before?
Um, well, actually, this is the this advantage and disadvantage with this one because I I I've been on a jury. I've been jury members in many film festivals,
Mhm.
but usually what they do is you watch the films in the cinemas with
Oh,
other juries and the audience, and then then you stay together for I don't know 5 days, 4 days,
oh,
weekends, whatever, and watch the films, right? Watch two or three films a day, and then you discuss. But with this one, with this Asia Pacific Screen Award this year, is that we did everything online. We watched
oh,
the films. We watched the films online. Like each one of the jury members just watched on their own. You have like a month
mhm.
something to watch, a month or 2 months to watch the films, and then you actually do your deliberation online.
So does that mean you have more films to watch than in the usual?
Well, you have more time to watch, but at the same time, like I'm in the middle of editing my films right now, so I'm watching these films. I'm watching them on computer, which is kind of like not as good as watching it in the big cinema, right? And
Yeah.
especially if I mean a good number of the films that were nominated were kind of like quote unquote art films.
Hmm.
And this kind of films, some of them are quite slow.
Hmm.
When you watch that on a computer or on even on a television at home, it doesn't do justice to the film. That kind of film, if you watch it, let's say in the theaters. So that's a bit of a disadvantage. But the advantage is that the selection of the films are really excellent.
Oh.
It's incredible. We watched 14 films, and yeah, all of them, they're so different. Like you have you have some really heavy courtroom drama, heavy hospital drama with a lot of moral dilemma.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you also have a road a road movie comedy.
Oh.
The spectrum, the range of the films that were nominated were quite incredible. They're so different, but at the same time, they all have really excellent quality. They're really cinematic. They're really the cultural identity of each country, of each films, and the voice and the vision of the directors are so clear, are so singular. So that has been one of my one of the joys
Mhm.
of being on this jury. I'm so happy I said yes to it. When they contacted me, originally I almost said no because I was busy. I'm going to be busy. So yeah, but I'm so happy that I actually said yes because the quality of the films are really 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 good.
So, well, you have shared a bit about how you started the jury process. So, can you share a bit more about how was the process with the other jury members? Was there any criteria set by APSA, or was it something that you arbitrarily agreed on?
Well, first of all, the before the films come to us,
Mhm.
before we watch any of the films, there
Mhm.
is a like what they call it nominations councils.
Oh.
So these people watch
Mhm.
maybe like I don't know 200 films, which I mean we cannot. So they watch all the Asian films, I don't know how many, and then they were the ones who actually selected
Mhm.
the 14 films that are nominated, and they actually gave the nominations. For example, they give X film a nomination for cinematography.
Mhm.
They give, Y film nomination for uh, best performance, for example. So the nominations were categorized for us,
Mhm.
which is kind of like, it's good, but sometimes there might be a film when you watch the films, or some of the jury members watch the film, and we said, how come this actress didn't get nominated for performance, but this film got nominated for screenplay, for example. But we thought the performance of the actress was so strong, but we couldn't give her the prize. We have we have to debate according to the categorized nomination.
How did you decide among the jury members who to give prizes to, or at least just give us a say a general overview of how the process went?
Well, we debate. All of us got online at the same time, which is quite difficult because, like me, I'm I'm in Bangkok, right? I was in Bangkok at the time, and there's one time zone, and you have a Curry, who is Curry is New Zealand, so her time zone is New Zealand, and you have Yulia, who Yulia is a producer from Kazakhstan, but she lives in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have Paris time zone, and then you have Park Hyung, who is a South Korean. Then he has a South Korean time zone, and then you have Chris Pang, who's Australian but lives in LA. So
Mm-hmm.
you have an LA time zone. So anyway, all of us have to get on this online at the same time, and debate it, and we just go category by category.
Mm-hmm.
It was the easiest thing, We just go like, okay, let's debate the best performance, and then
Mm-hmm.
there were 5 actors or actresses who were nominated, and then basically we did something very simple. Is that in each category, I asked each one of our jury members to name your 2 favorites.
Mm-hmm.
There are 5 nominations, so you name your 2 favorites, and then you will see some common ground, but at the same time you see something so different, and then maybe one of the films might not be anybody's favorite at all. So then you don't have to discuss that film. That film is out. Then you only discuss 4 maybe, or 3. But yes, you try to look for the common ground, and then let's say the common ground would be 3 films or 4 films, and then you kind of like debate it with each other, and then narrow it down to the narrow it down to the winner,
Mm-hmm.
which is not easy. It's kind of like a give and take thing, when you do deliberation with the jury members. It's kind of like, and you have to be fair to everybody. I think you have to be fair to all the films, and also to the opinions of other jury members. And it's surprising because sometimes you didn't think highly of one film, but then when you hear 1 or 2 jury members debate it, that they love the film so much, then suddenly something comes to light, something you realize, something you might have overlooked, and so it's good experience. But you don't want to be debating like 3 days or something, forever. So in the end, you might not get your favorite film to win, but the film that wins, you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a black and white thing, I mean, some category is very black and white,
Mm-hmm.
you
Well,
know.
speaking of that, now, can you share if there are any categories that you find most difficult to decide upon a winner?
I think there were three categories that could almost like interchange. You have well, the best feature is always the most difficult. The best feature film, right? That's the big prize. And you also have a jury prize, a special jury prize. And then you have the best director. I don't know about the other years, but for this year, the best feature film and the runner-up was so debatable.
Oh,
Was super debatable, like super close.
so I want to ask, in terms of quality, since you've been also a practicing filmmaker for decades now, um, have you, what do you think of the development of films and filmmaking in general in the region, particularly in the Asia Pacific? As you witnessed it also both as a filmmaker and a jury member for several festivals.
Well, I think the qualities of the films that I've seen for this year, it's really like world class, really world class. That's very apparent. A lot of the films were already anticipated. Highly anticipated films. Well-known films already, and also you have a handful of films also that are still like building the buzz. One thing very clear is the standard is very high. All of these films are up there, with the rest of the world. And also I think the filmmakers are younger.
Oh,
Like the young filmmakers nowadays are really good. They're very advanced, compared to when I started making film like 25 years ago. I didn't have this kind of command. I didn't have my first or second feature film I didn't have this kind of command. I didn't have this kind of sophistication. But of course, because back then, your reference or your exposure, like if you live in Asia, in Southeast Asia, like myself, your exposure to the world cinema is not as convenient as now, let's say. Right? I mean, I started making film when we were still watching VHS tape, and then for example, like in Thailand, there's no such thing as art film, so you have to watch. Back then, if you want to watch like the really top quality world cinema, you have to watch it on like pirate, a pirate VHS. I remember like you have to go to the black market, it's almost like buying drugs, and the police might come and get you for renting a Peter Greenaway's film. So the world has evolved, and so has the Asia Pacific region of the filmmakers. The quality is super.
so in terms of quality and their participation in the Asia Pacific Screen Awards, what do you think the award giving body, Asia Pacific Screen Awards, what do you think its role in this whole development, or do you think it has a role in this development, or do you think it has a potential to lead a certain role in the development of?
Absolutely, because the award is recognized around the world. So if the films win the prize here, it has kind of legitimized the filmmakers, for recognition. And then how it is nowadays is that this kind of challenging films, personal films, in Asia, you can't make it with a studio. No studio in Asia would, I'm sure in the same with your country, it, like in my country or in Malaysia or in Singapore, like the studio would not put in money to make this kind of films. So obviously this kind of films get made from pooling together fundings around the world. You know, you can see in the credits of these films, you know, it's like Cinéma du Monde in France, you know, Hubert Ball's, you know, in Rotterdam, you have the Taika funding from Taiwan. You have IMDA from Singapore. You have, you know, funding from Belgium, from Luxembourg. So for these filmmakers, for their next project to get made, if their films are recognized by this award, it legitimizes them, and it hopefully could make their next project to materialize easier, right? So it's a big help, because personal film and commercial film, you know, like art house cinema, it depends on this kind of funding. The Asia Pacific Screen Award is it's one of the awards that would legitimize the films and the filmmakers. You know, not only the directors, but also the producers, right? The performers, and also you have to understand that the Asia Pacific Screen Academy, they're not only just giving out awards. Like these 4 days that we're here in the Gold Coast in Australia, every day there's workshop, there's panel discussion of, you know, how to co-produce, you know, how the lesson in co-production, and the young filmmakers around in Australia, in Asia, they come and listen to the experts, how things are done, what the problem is. And so it's not only just the awards that the Screen Academy is doing. They're also doing educational work, you know, and seminar, and, you know, and one of our jury members, which is from South Korea, Park Hyung. So Park Hyung has been doing workshop here also, you know, between South Korean film students and Australian film students, and together they make a short film together, for example.
Yeah. So, given all the things that well, you experienced during as a jury member, and the things that you've seen in the festival, both in content and in form, and especially that your remark earlier is very profound, that the filmmakers are young. So, where do you think, uh, just maybe speculate, where do you think cinema in Asia Pacific, or even in Asia, will be going, or do you think there what are the directions that they can possibly take in the near future?
I think the trend, I from what I see in the 14 films that I've watched for the awards, you start to realize that, for example, when you see a Vietnamese film, a film from Vietnam, but you see that the producers are from Singapore, are from France, the cinematographer are from Taiwan, the editor is from Thailand, and the color grading and special effects are done partly in France, partly in Thailand, partly in Taiwan. So you see the trend where I think the Asia Pacific started to become, as a film community, we've started to become like what the Europeans have become in the last, I don't know, 60, 70 years, you know, that each country start to collaborate more. And I've, you know, in this past 10 years, you know, I've helped other filmmakers from other countries. You know, they want advice. They come to Thailand. They want to look for location. I give them the contact of my location manager, and then my location manager started working with them. And then, you know, the producer from Thailand would produce a film in Vietnam. So Asia Pacific start to become like one community, and I think that is a very obvious trend. I mean, let's go back like maybe 10 years ago. Things like this didn't happen. When you make a Thai film, you just make with the Thai crew. Your cameraman's from Thailand, your editors from Thailand, everyone's from Thailand, your producers from Thailand. But now you see that, even if it's a Vietnamese film, it just happened that the film speaks in Vietnamese language, but the cinema language is so international. I think it's kind of like, it's interesting because cinema trend is kind of like going against the political trend. You know how the world now, every country becomes so right-wing. Trump wants to close the border. He doesn't want anyone to come into America anymore. If you go in France, the right-wing political party is becoming very strong. In Germany, in Europe, they start to realize the problem of immigration, too much immigration, so they try to block off. But like politically, the world is going that way. Everyone is trying to like hold on to their own values, and like pushing strangers away. But in the cinema world, the opposite is happening. People go in and out of each other's country like crazy, and for me that is a really good thing.
Well, I just remembered you were actually in the forefront of this kind of trend, right? You made Last Life in the Universe with Tadanobu Asano and then Christopher Doyle.
Yeah.
A similar thing that you were doing, that
Yeah.
now. So
Right. Yeah.
maybe I go to that direction now. If you don't mind me asking a bit of a more personal aspect of your career, where is or what can we expect of Ek Ratanaruang in the near future?
Well, I'm editing a film now. It's a new film. And it's funny that you mentioned Christopher Doyle because Chris shot this film, the one we're working on now.
Oh,
so we're back together working after 20 years. We haven't worked, and also Asano, the Japanese actor. Asano has a small bit part in the film just for fun. So he came into Thailand and he did the film for 3 days and went back to Japan. But just it's almost like a family film. So so we're editing the film now soon. So next year we will release next year.
So I think we can close off now our discussion for this afternoon. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Hopefully we can get to talk to you again soon on a different platform or a different venue, maybe in person.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
you so much for joining us. This is Epoy again from Asian Movie Pulse. May you have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.